How do I find a new job? How can I make a career change? And the biggest question of all, can I really find a career that I love? Hey, my name is Jen Smith, and I believe career success doesn't have to be at the expense of living a radiantly happy and healthy lifestyle. As a former HR leader and recruiter turned career coach, I get what companies are looking for when hiring top talent. What that means for you is an unmatched combination of insider knowledge and the best kept secrets about making heart-based career changes and navigating the ups and downs of job searching in today's world of work. Whether you're a recent graduate navigating the job market for the first time or a seasoned professional ready for a career change, this show is for you. So grab your coffee or your kombucha, pull up a seat, and get ready to be challenged and inspired to move beyond your self-doubt and take the right next steps towards landing a career you love. Because you deserve a long, radiantly happy and healthy career. This is the Flourish Careers Podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Flourish Careers Podcast. I'm Jen Smith, your host, and here we are at the final episode of Season 7 and the last in our spring cleaning series. Over the last few episodes, we've tackled different aspects of spring cleaning for our careers. We started with decluttering our tasks using the 4D framework. Then we explored my favorite mantra, nourish to flourish, diving into ways we can cleanse and care for our mind, body, spirit, and space. We also had a fabulous conversation with Paige Arnaud-Fenn about refreshing your digital brand, ensuring your online presence aligns with your career goals. And today, we're tying it all together with an episode dedicated to energy, how it flows through your career, how it can get blocked, and how you can clear it for a more vibrant and fulfilling work life. Think about it. Just like our bodies respond to the energy of the food we eat, or our homes reflect the energy of the items we keep, our careers are shaped by the energy we bring to them every day. We must be intentional about how we manage our energy. Career fulfillment and joyful days requires intention. So this episode is all about helping you identify where your energy might be getting depleted and how to recharge so you can show up in your career with clarity and purpose. So let's get to it. First, I want to start by talking about the energy behind your work life. So if you've ever done some type of detox, whether it's cutting sugar out of your food for a week, or I always notice this when decluttering like my closet or a space, you've probably noticed a shift in energy. And that's because everything holds energy. Our spaces, the objects around us, and the people we interact with daily. And when that energy in our careers turns negative, we start to feel it everywhere. Stress, constant complaining, poor decision-making, exhaustion, and potentially even illness. And before we know it, we're not just absorbing that energy, but we're also putting it out into the world. So how do we break free from that cycle? The idea is to take a holistic approach, be intentional about physical energy, emotional, mental, spiritual, and even environmental energy. So let's break down these different dimensions so you can start refreshing your work-life energy right now. So Dr. Jim Loehr wrote a book called The Power of Full Engagement, and he describes energy as having 4 main dimensions. Just what we said, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And I'd argue that there's a 5th one that's just as important, which is our environmental energy. So here's a quick breakdown. Physical energy is our foundation. It's how much energy you have to work with every day. So think of quantity. Emotional energy is how you feel about your work and the people around you. Mental energy is your ability to focus and problem solve and stay sharp. Spiritual energy is a deeper sense of purpose and meaning behind what you do. And environmental energy is the energy of your workspace, whether that's an office, a desk, or even your digital space. If even one of these is off balance, your whole work life is going to feel it. And once you understand how to manage them, everything shifts. So we'll start with your physical energy. Our bodies are energy engines, and how we fuel them determines how we perform and how we feel. And no, I'm not going to just tell you to drink more water and get 8 hours of sleep. You already know that. Instead, I want to talk about your natural rhythms. So you probably know we all have unique circadian rhythms and chronotypes that determine when we have most of our energy. Some of us are early birds, some are night owls, and some people fall somewhere in between. Your circadian rhythm is like an internal energy clock, and it ebbs and flows throughout the day. External factors like light exposure, sleep patterns, and diet can affect it, but at its core, it's your body's natural preference for energy cycles. Chronotypes takes it a step further. They help you understand when your mental and physical energy peak so you can optimize each and every day. For example, I'm a lion chronotype, which means my peak energy window is in the morning. I schedule work like writing or creative brainstorming early in the day when my energy is at its highest. Fun fact, I record most solo podcast episodes on Monday mornings, which is today. I'm well rested, and I know that the distractions of the week haven't gotten to me, so I can focus better. I also don't record more than 2 in one day because I know my energy and the quality after 2 recordings is going to start to diminish. I also know that by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my brain is done. And that's when I shift to emails and admin tasks or anything that requires less focus. So ask yourself, when do you feel most mentally sharp? When do you feel your energy start to drag? Are you forcing yourself to work against your natural energy cycles? By aligning your work schedule with your natural energy flow, you will get more done without feeling tired. So instead of constantly pushing through energy slumps, you'll ride these like natural waves of energy, which means less stress, better focus, and more energy throughout the day. So think about the times when you've powered through on caffeine and little sleep. You get things done, but at what cost? Drained energy leads to mistakes and frustration. But energy isn't just about daily cycles. It also moves through monthly cycles, aligning with nature's rhythms, including phases of the moon. Now, I'm just started to learn about this more and more, and I'm finding it fascinating. So you think about the moon, just as it affects the tides, many people find that their own energy levels shifts throughout the lunar cycle. So a new moon is time for rest and reflection and setting new intentions. You might use this phase to clarify your career goals or plant seeds for future projects. A waxing moon is when energy begins to build, making an ideal time for taking action and initiating projects. A full moon, think about the full moon and how bright and it's radiating light and energy. That's peak energy. It's great for presenting ideas or bringing projects to completion. And then a waning moon is a natural time for closure and releasing what no longer serves you. So it's kind of like this opening and closing, the ebbs and flows. The key takeaway here is to stop pushing against your natural energy patterns and start working with them. Now, I want to talk about emotional energy and how that potentially shapes your workplace. Have you ever walked into work or into a meeting and instantly felt the energy shift? Maybe a coworker is radiating stress and frustration, and suddenly you feel that tenseness too. Or maybe you've been carrying around frustration, and without even realizing it, it's affecting how you interact with others. Emotional energy is powerful. When it's low, it fuels cycles of avoidance or disengagement and exhaustion. So if you've been dodging coworkers or feeling irritated by even the smallest thing, or even dreading Mondays before the weekend even ends, chances are your emotional energy is running low. This could also be a clue that it's time to make a more aligned, heart-based career change. Now, the tricky part here is that avoidance only leads to more avoidance. So ignoring tough conversations, suppressing your emotions, or isolating yourself does not make things better. It just creates more energy blocks. This happens a lot with leaders because leaders in particular set the tone. So imagine two different bosses in a high-stress situation. Let's say Olivia is the drained boss and she walks into a meeting and she's already on edge. She's been juggling back-to-back calls. She didn't sleep well and she's frustrated about missing a deadline. When she sees an unfinished report in the meeting, she snaps and says, "Why isn't this done yet? We don't have time for mistakes." The room goes silent. People rush through their work. They're afraid to ask questions. It increases the chances of error, and people are stressed and miserable. The whole team absorbs her stress, making the project even more difficult to complete. Then, let's say, on the other hand, there's Jasmine, the energized boss. She knows the stakes are high, but also recognizes that her energy sets the tone. So before the meeting, she takes a deep breath, resets, and walks in with a steady presence. She might say, "All right, here we are in the final stretch. Let's check in. What's working? Where do we need support?" Instead of shutting down, the team is engaged. Someone brings up a missing data point in a report that's not finished. Rather than reacting with frustration, she says, "Good catch. Let's fix that now," rather than in front of the client. In this situation, the team feels supported, stays focused, and delivers stronger work as a result. The difference here is awareness and energy management. These are small but intentional shifts in communication that make an impact. So how do you start shifting your own emotional energy? First and foremost, you must notice the patterns. So how are you feeling emotionally? Are you avoiding conversations? Are you procrastinating? Are you withdrawing? Identifying these behaviors is the first step towards reclaiming your emotional energy. Once you notice it, you need to reset. So breath work is such an easy thing to do. Just take a few deep breaths and reset. My go-to is an insight timer. It's a 4-minute breath work meditation that I'll do if I feel my emotional energy kind of getting out of whack. You can focus on gratitude and appreciation. So just a minute to acknowledge what's going well or taking that a step further and sending a quick thank you email will shift the emotional energy. You can also reframe challenges. So instead of seeing an obstacle or a roadblock, ask yourself, how can I approach this differently? And that change in mindset can help shift the entire work experience. Emotional energy isn't just about how you feel. It affects your interactions, your energy, and your productivity, and even your career path. So when you intentionally reset and replenish it, work feels lighter, relationships become smoother, and you have more energy for what matters most. So we've talked about physical energy and emotional energy. Now let's move over to mental energy. You know that feeling when you're so engaged in what you're doing and time completely flies. You end the day and you feel so much energy versus completely drained. That's the power of working in alignment with naturally what fuels you. Instead of simply managing distractions or clearing away mental clutter, you're taking it a step further to focus on work that gives you energy. One way to uncover work that fuels your mental energy is by identifying your energy drivers. So these are things that make you feel engaged and productive and fulfilled. For me, some of my top energy drivers are creativity and developing others. When I focus on work that taps into these strengths, I notice a huge difference in my mental energy. So for example, if I'm designing a new workshop or brainstorming fresh podcast topics, I feel completely in flow. My creativity is engaged, my energy stays high. But if I spend too much time on planning or project management, my energy dips so quickly. So I make a conscious effort to structure my work week around what energizes me while managing the tasks that drain my mental energy. So here are some ways you can apply this. Identify your top energy drivers. Think about moments when you feel you're at your best. Are you most energized when you're solving complex problems? When you're leading a team? When you're working on your own? Identify what drives that mental energy. Then take a look at your work. How much time is spent on activities that fuel you versus deplete you? If most of your work is spent on things that deplete you, figure out how to shift things. And then how can you more leverage your energy drivers? If there's work you can't avoid, which let's be real, there's always stuff that is going to drain our energy, but try to find a way to connect it to some of your energy drivers. And this could be a mental shift. So, for example, if data entry isn't exciting, but problem solving is, think about how the data informs better decision making when the team is problem solving. This would also be really cool to do with your team. So if you work on a team and you can share your energy drivers and then divvy out the work according to whose energy drives what type of task, imagine a team where everyone is doing work that energizes them. It would make work so much more fun. We've talked about emotional energy. We've talked about physical energy. We've talked about mental energy. Now let's talk about spiritual energy. This is about finding purpose in your work. And it's a big one because without a sense of purpose, even the most successful career can start to feel like an energy drain. When your work aligns with what matters to you, it fuels you rather than depletes you. Spiritual energy is a deeper force that connects your work to meaning. It's what keeps you going on the hard days. And the best way to cultivate spiritual energy is heart-based alignment. So pause for a minute. Think about your career right now. Does your work feel in sync with your values, your strengths, and your lifestyle? Or does it feel like you're constantly pushing against resistance? If the latter sounds familiar, it might be time to realign with heart. And as a reminder, heart stands for H is for heart-centered or harmony. Is your work and lifestyle in sync with your core values, creating that sense of flow rather than friction? E is energizing. Does your work fuel you? Does it drive curiosity or does it leave you feeling depleted? A is for agile. Can you adapt and iterate and refine your work in a way that keeps it dynamic and engaging for you? R stands for rooted in rituals. Are there daily, weekly, or monthly rituals that help you stay connected to your work and sustain your energy? And then finally, T is for take tiny action. Are you making small, consistent steps forward? If any of these are missing, it might be time to realign your career with a purpose. Here are some things you can do to reconnect with your spiritual energy. Do what you do best. Are you using those natural strengths at work? When you engage in work that plays to your natural talents, your energy expands. Do what you enjoy most. Of course, work isn't always fun, but it can be fulfilling. So if you're spending most of your time on tasks that drain you, think about small shifts that allow you to do more of what brings you joy and energy. List out your values. What is most important to you right now in this season of career? If your work does not feel meaningful with your core values, it's going to cause friction. So think about what your values are and then find ways to integrate those into your day-to-day routines. You could also reframe your work through the lens of impact. Instead of seeing tasks as isolated activities, connect them to a bigger purpose. Even small contributions make a difference when they're viewed in context of how they help others create a positive change. And then you must protect your energy. So if your workplace feels misaligned with your values and drains your spiritual energy, it might be time to set some boundaries or explore environments that will better support your growth. Now take a moment to reflect. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what is one small, tiny action I can take this week to bring more heart into my work? Maybe it's scheduling 30 minutes for a project that excites you, or exploring another team that you might want to work on. Maybe it's just asking your boss if you could work from home one day a week to give yourself some time to catch your breath. Or maybe it's just reminding yourself why you started in this particular industry or company or role in the first place. When your work is aligned with your heart, you'll feel that your energy is naturally renewed rather than depleted. It's not just about what you do, it's about how it makes you feel and whether it fuels that inner sense of fulfillment. That is spiritual energy in action. So now let's finally wrap up with the space around you. I know we touched on this before, but I can't help mentioning it again because your environment affects your energy more than you think. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt at ease? Or on the flip side, enter a cluttered or dimly lit space and immediately felt drained? That's environmental energy at play. And the space around you has an effect on how you feel, how you focus, and how you show up in your work. So just a quick couple reminders here on refreshing your space, especially as we move into spring. This has helped me a lot. First, letting in natural light. There's a reason sunlight makes us feel more awake and alive. If you aren't near a window, take a break and step outside and soak up a little bit of sunshine. Declutter. Messy desk equals messy mind. So clear out some old papers, refresh your workspace, and that's going to lead to some fresh ideas. Music. Sound has energy too. So whether you need calming acoustic music or upbeat pop or nature sounds in the background, find something that lifts your energy and focus. I'm going to link my newest go-to playlist in the show notes for you. And then add some plants. Plants do more than just look nice. They help purify the air and reduce stress. I have a money tree that I keep in my workspace, and it's said to bring good fortune. But even if you're not superstitious, it's a low maintenance plant that adds a lot of life to your space. Small shifts in your environment can have a huge impact on how you feel and your energy throughout the day. When your space feels good, your energy flows better, and that makes everything in your work feel lighter and more supportive. So as we come to a close and recap, each dimension of energy, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and environmental, works together like a system. When one of them is out of sync, it impacts the rest. But we have to be intentional and actively realign to create a work life that is fulfilling and supportive. So your challenge this week is to pick one area, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, or environmental, and commit to an energy cleanse. What's one tiny action you can take today to shift your energy in a positive direction? Well, that's a wrap for season 7, my friends. We started this season with a series on laying the foundation for a bright year ahead. We welcomed an incredible lineup of guests throughout February and wrapped things up with a refreshing spring cleaning focus. I'll be back in a few weeks with new conversations and some exciting updates. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast and the newsletter for the latest updates. As always, the notes from today's episode are on the blog at flourish.careers/blog. I'll talk to you next time.